Welcome to the next edition of the JMM Expert Insights Series. This time we are joined by Andrew Spark, Executive Chairman of QMines. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Jane.
So, Andrew, for viewers who are unfamiliar with the QMines story, can you give us a little bit of background on the company?
Yeah, sure thing. We're a really exciting, relatively new company. We listed on the ASX in May 21, so we're about 4 years old as a company. And I think one thing that's different about us is we're a copper and gold developer, focused on central Queensland. We've got 3 assets up there, but we are a really young and dynamic team that really like to move business plans along quickly. And I'm really proud of the fact that, in the last sort of 3.5, 4 years, we've delivered not only sort of 50 kilometres of drilling and all the usual stuff you see out there, but 7 resource updates, optimization studies. I think we've done 6 rounds of METs, would you believe? We've now acquired 3 projects in this central Queensland region. And we're just absolutely knocking it out of the park. Last year, we published our maiden pre-feasibility study. And now what we're doing is we're really working on, having just completed 2 recent acquisitions in the region, we're working on really growing the scale. So we're basically incorporating our new Devilin Creek material into the mine plan, and also our Mt Mackenzie recent gold and silver acquisition into the mine plan. So lots of things on the way, lots of great pricing catalysts for new shareholders, and lots of excitement as we build the business.
Of course, you've got one of the projects, Mt Chalmers. Can you give us a quick update on this project?
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, this is the real mainstay of the QMines operation. Okay. It's got some scale. It's fantastic grade. It's a shallow deposit. And it's obviously a historic mine. So it's got lots of rudiments that are going to make this a really successful operation for the business going forward. What we've been doing, we've been really working on getting that down that development path. So we've got a mining license application in play at the moment. We're starting to work on the environmental approvals process. But it's, as I say, the PFS show, which came out in April last year, showed that it had fantastic economics. And that's largely because it's, great METs, very shallow, high grade copper and gold operations. So it will really be the mainstay of the QMines Central Queensland processing hub, and a really important part of that strategy.
You also have Devilin Creek. So, how does this complement the broader QMine strategy?
Okay, great question. We acquired the remaining half of Devilin Creek, so we now own 100% of that project as well in September last year. As you'll see, M&A is a big part of our growth strategy here in this central Queensland area. Devilin Creek is higher grade than Mt Chalmers, even though Mt Chalmers is a ripper deposit on its own right. Devilin Creek, we've got high grade copper and zinc mineralisation there. We've got a large drilling program going on as we speak. We've got 2 rigs on site, lots of news flow coming, lots of drill results on their way in the labs as we speak. But we think this has potential to really supercharge the economics at an expanded Mt Chalmers operation, where we can truck some of this higher grade ore down to Mt Chalmers to really, as I say, supercharge those economics. So drilling's going very well. Watch this space. Lots of fantastic catalysts on the horizon from Devon Creek, which are relatively imminent.
So you talked about this earlier. You've announced the acquisition of the Mount Mackenzie Gold and Silver project. What makes this a strategic fit for QMines?
All right, I suppose all of your listeners have seen the gold price running. It's pretty obvious that, having exposure to gold can provide additional leverage for our shareholders. This was a historic deposit. We only completed the acquisition earlier in July, so it's a relatively new acquisition for us. But it really gives our shareholders, as I said, a lot more exposure to those, rising gold and silver pricing that we're seeing at the moment. And as many of your listeners will know, these copper gold operations really give you that, I suppose, yin and yang. Gold when markets are really struggling gives you, really high profitability. High pricing obviously leads to high profitability. But copper and zinc when you're seeing economic growth. So it gives you that really nice diversification, benefit. The great thing about Mount Mackenzie is it's a good sized resource already. but it's just open in every direction. So we think this could be really big. And so we're just planning another drill program. As I say, we've got a lot going on at Devilin Creek at the moment. But at Mount Mackenzie, we think there's a lot of room for growth here. So we intend to get one of the rigs up there, relatively soon to start to test, to see how big this could be. So another really exciting, gold and silver focused project that will really add to the Mount Chalmers, the scale of the Mount Chalmers mine plan.
Andrew, let's move to the current M&A activity that copper producers are seeing at the moment. I mean, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, they're choosing copper as the choice of commodity for investment. Why should investors be paying attention to QMines?
Yes, look, it's a great point. When you're seeing a lot of M&A activity like you're seeing at the moment, it really tells you that there's deep underlying value in this space. If you just look at our peer group, Metals Acquisition Corp's just received a bid for 1.5 billion Australian dollars. They're producing about 40,000 tons of copper per annum. New World, everyone would have seen the recent tussle for the New World business with a private equity group and a large London listed company, both vying to acquire the project. It's sort of circa 200 million bucks and has a 20 to 30,000 ton copper production profile. Then you look at QMines, which has got a similar production profile, but we're under 20 million market cap. So we really are the next one off the rank here. I could bore you with a whole lot more M&A stories out there, but it really, I think, points to the fact that, these assets are very undervalued at the moment. Gold's obviously run really nicely in the last couple of years, but I think, a lot of people, as you said in the intro, a lot of, very sophisticated groups are starting to see the value of copper at these levels. And I really think we're in a fantastic, position to generate some outsized returns as we really take this business down that development path.
Lastly, what should investors be looking forward to over the next 3 to 6 months?
Well, look, those of you who know QMines know we are a young and energetic team, so we just deliver. Okay, so there's a lot on the way. I'd really encourage you to go and have a look at some of the recent announcements. We've just been pumping it out, but there's a lot more coming. There's 8 kilometers of drilling that we're currently doing at our Devilin Creek project, 2 rig program. So all those labs, all those assays rather, are on their way. About half of those are in the labs as we speak and are imminent. We've got studies coming, we've got more METs coming, we've got, it's a really, catalyst rich time for our business. So it's a really exciting time. I think we've got all that organic growth already locked in. But also with all this M&A activity and this corporate activity in the sector, I think it's a fantastic time to be really having a look closely at these copper developers. So, in QMines being a relatively simple business based in Australia and Queensland, I think is really the pick of the group. So obviously a bit biased, but obviously I think it's a great time to be having a look.
Andrew, exciting times ahead. Look forward to future updates. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Shane.